Okay guys, how are you doing? In this video, I thought I'd talk to you about something different. Let's talk about some horror, okay? Horror movies. Do you like horror movies? I'm going to talk about horror movies just quickly, okay? One of my, I'm going to tell you my favorite horror movies, okay? Now, I do like the Evil Dead series, the original Evil Dead movie. And I do feel like some of the old school horrors, again, were some of the best ones. I was never into like Chucky, Child's Play. I was never into that. I never liked Carrie, whatever that one. Some old school. There's some real good stories like based off of Stephen King books too, which are legendary. I know, but there were certain ones I don't like. I don't like horror movies where it's just about torture and gore and just torturing people and crazy shit. I don't mind a bit of blood, but it's like I don't mind if it's movies. See, I like horror movies to be like creepy, spooky, a bit supernatural, or some psycho after people, whatever it is. Can have killing and stuff in it, but I don't like movies which are just torture and like themed on just blood, guts, and that. I want to see something when it's like a story, and you hope the people are going to be okay, and what's going to happen is creepy. Ghosts in it. I like zombie movies, I must say. I don't get bored of zombie movies like some people do. Never really been into like vampire stuff, especially like these modern day romantic vampire films. I find that silly. I don't like that kind of stuff. TV shows about that stuff. But let's talk about real horror though. So classic horror films, ones I love. I like Stephen King's stories, made into films. I like the Langoliers, about these people that end up in this place where I'm not even going to tell you, man. The movie, you're going to have to watch the movie. Okay, The Langoliers, Langoliers, I believe. The Langoliers. It was a three-part story, like TV thing, but they made it into a full movie, and it's like a 3 hour long movie. Another one I'll tell you about in a moment too, but. Another one of my favourites is Stanley Kubrick's movie, which is a movie version of The Shining, which has Jack Nicholson in, and I thought it was fantastic, even though Stephen King himself didn't like it so much. So you got The Langoliers, The Shining. I like It. Okay, It, the original It from the 90s. Okay, 1990s. It was also a TV show thing in parts, but it was made into a single movie with I believe his name was, what was his name? Oh man, what's his name? Jim Curry, not Jim Carrey, but Jim Curry. I think it was the guy. He was actually in Home Alone 2 too, which is a great film. I love the Home Alone series. I love a lot of movies from the 80s, Short Circuit, a lot of Short Circuit 2, a lot of 80s Christmas type theme films. We can talk all day about all that if you want to talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger stuff, whatever it is. So many movies I could talk about right now to you guys. I hear Gremlins. But let's get back to the horror though, okay? So I like The Langoliers. I like The Shining. I like It, the original It, the 3 hour long full thing of it though. Really played so well. The characters were in that. There's another one too. There's another. What's the other one? I can't think now off the top of my head. Like, yeah, like they're my real favourites. Evil Dead's great, obviously. My favourite TV series was not Tales from the Crypt, but Tales from the Dark Side. Tales from the Dark Side to me was so creepy. It was just amazingly done, very well done. There's other movies, obviously, like Friday the 13th, Halloween, and obviously Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street series, which are also fantastic. There's so much stuff. There's Poltergeist. I wasn't really into that. I never saw Hellraiser or anything. There's all the different classic ones we know about. There's some other really weird old horror films that I've seen too. Like I think it was in 1980. I don't know. It was 1980, so early 80s. I was born in 82, but there was another movie made in 81 or 83 called The Pit. Check it out. Okay? It's a really weird one. It's okay. I like weird, strange ones, but And there was a movie also called, I think it's called The Geek. I'm not too sure. I may be wrong on that. Okay. When it comes to horror, I also like sci-fi horror, like dark sci-fi. There's a film I watched, and I've seen it quite a few times now, and it's called The Dark Side of the Moon. Have you ever seen that? You should watch that one. Okay, The Dark Side of the Moon. There's another one called The Last Days on Mars, I think it's called, something like that. I'm not too sure. I may be wrong there. So I do like a bit of horror sci-fi too. Yeah. What else is there? So these are some of the great films that I really, really love and recommend you watching and checking them out. Um, movies about like robots and like creepy like sci-fi AI where things go wrong about robots and stuff trying to kill people. And there's things like that I like to watch. Not Terminator, of course. We love the Terminator series, obviously, like Terminator 1 and 2. One of my two legendary films by Arnold Schwarzenegger that I really, really love. I know it's not horror, but two films that I really love are The Running Man and Total Recall. And there's some creepy themes in both of those films too, really. I mean, Total Recall was legendary, but I thought The Running Man was amazing. It's one of my favourite films of his. And Arnold Schwarzenegger was great, but The Running Man, it was actually based on, I do believe, a Stephen King story. And there's a bit of horror in that too. So yeah, he has a book called Nightmares and Dreamscapes, I believe. I think from the 90s, yeah, by Stephen King. And I believe there's a TV series on that, and I was watching some episodes of that before, and it was great, if I'm not mistaken. Now, as we know, there's Tales from the Dark. There's Tales from the Crypt. There's Tales from the Dark Side. There's another one. What's the other one called? With the comic guy with the comics and the weird guy. There's another one there. I forgot what that's called. Horror. But there's other things too. Like I know a good friend of mine, Chuck. If you're watching, hi Chuck. He enjoys the Night Gallery. And I think that's a series, but I've only seen one episode before where the picture in the painting starts coming to life or something. And there's a haunted, ghostly thing. Recently, I've been watching some old horrors and stuff from the 40s and 50s too, and you get old black and white ones too, And there's been some movies that they've like used like techniques and technology to add color to some of the black and white films, and some of them have been done pretty well. I'll say there's like colorized movies and stuff. And I watched one called was it House on Haunted Hill? The House on Haunted Hill. It was done really well. Bit upset with the way it turned out though, because it seemed to be like a Scooby-Doo type thing where it was just Scooby-Doo was great, but I'm just saying it was like a prank or something. It wasn't an actual haunted house, I don't think. But there are so many horror films. I've seen other horror films, more modern ones, with people like in hotels where they're locked in a room or something and they can't get out. Have you ever seen sci-fi horror type puzzle movies that get you thinking, psychological movies, like the Cube series? Okay, well, there's a movie called Cube or The Cube about these people that are stuck in this cube type thing and they have to find their way around because there's openings and they walk through into other rooms which are the same, just cubes, but some of them are trapped, like booby traps, and they're trying to find their way out without dying, basically. Cube. And then there's Cube 2, which is called Hypercube, where they have like a time element in it and they can like go through, and sometimes they see themselves either dead or alive in the past or future, and they try and communicate and work things out to sort everything out and help each other. And it's weird, really strange and weird. And then the last one was called Cube Zero, which is the third one. It goes back on itself. It's gory and it was a bit boring, I felt, crappy, because it was really like focusing not only on the inside, like the original first two movies were mainly focusing on just what's going on in that cube, setting. There's other movies too, like I like the Prometheus. Have you seen Prometheus? And Alien Covenant, the second one. Again, alien theme type, robot AI type sci-fi films. The only reason I like those is I've not always been a big massive fan of the Alien movies franchise, but it's like what it is this robot played by what's his name? David Fassbender, is it? I believe he's an Irish actor actually, but he plays this robot, this AI, very advanced, looks like human almost totally, and he's like basically this character called David 8, the robot, and I think he's just fantastically played. It's unbelievable. You either love it or you hate it. Some people don't like the film, but yeah, I like dark sci-fi, horror type sci-fi. I like sci-fi usually. I'm not a Trekkie, but I did like the original Star Trek, The Next Generation. You got Patrick Stewart playing Captain Picard, and you've also got Commander Data, the android robot. Again, that same kind of thing. So I like those kind of characters. I find that much more interesting than your Spock and your old school. No offense to that stuff. So I grew up watching a lot of stuff when I was younger. We used to watch Land of the Giants and You know, I was going to say Lost in Space and then Land of Giants when I was younger. When I grew up, we watched a lot of things. My dad always had it all on the TV. When I was growing up, James Bond movies, Superman, Supergirl, the list goes on, the 80s stuff, you know what I mean, right? My God, you know, what's it called? Blue Thunder, you know, Knight Rider and the A-Team and all the rest of it. I never saw the other. What's the other one called? Like Columbo and different things, but I never saw it. But let's get back to the main thing I'm saying. Yeah, so horror. I do like a bit of horror now and again. There's a movie called Dead Silence. Dead Silence. Have you seen that with the puppets? Really creepy one. I know there's a series called The Puppet Master, and there's one called The Leprechaun or something. You know, I'm not really big into them. You know, you got these movies like the Saw movies and stuff, really gruesome. Have you seen movies like this though? There's a movie. There is, as I said, there's a movie called. What's it called? Yeah, the Terrifier. The Terrifier. Oh, that's gruesome. That's creepy. Watch that one if you want. Not for the faint-hearted. I like psychological. What do you call it? Thriller, psychological suspense horror movies. Well, they get you thinking, like twisted ones. You know. I like things like that. I mean, there's deep films. Like, you know, you got that. What's it called? Oh God, what's it called then? Inception. You know. Sci-fi type stuff, Inception, and you got like, you know, oh my God, what's that movie called? Where it's in space. I was gonna say this one a moment ago. Totally forgot it now. It's a sci-fi movie where they travel to like different dimensions and stuff. It's crazy. I've totally forgot what it is now. It's not ET, but let's get back to what I'm saying. Okay, let's get back to what I'm saying. I really can't remember at the moment. Remember that movie, really dark movie, really deep movie. So, okay, let's get back to what I was saying. So more along those lines. Yeah, watch that. Dead Silence is good, as I say. There's another one called Dark Floors. If you've ever seen that one, Dark Floors. Look that one up. And there's a whole host of other horror movies. Yeah, but my favourite ones I just mentioned earlier on, as I say to you. I do think the original It was great. The Langoliers is a classic. You know. Yeah, and there's some of the classic horror films I've liked growing up. Let me know some of your favourites if you like too. Horrors, okay? If there's anything out there you want to share links to or anything like that or playlists, do let me know. Take care now. Thanks for watching.